Can you handle credit? The answer for most Americans is probably not. So if you are one of the many Americans who cannot afford right now to pay $1,000 emergency if it came up, you probably can't handle credit right now. If you are somebody who believes that if you just had access to more capital, you could borrow more money, in other words, that you could become a financial success, the answer is probably no. If you can't handle your current bills, being able to borrow money is not going to fix the problem you have. That's why I spend so little time on this channel talking about credit, because for most people, it's a non-starter. You have to fix the basics first before you can play the game at a higher level. And credit is the higher level. Like, I'm not saying credit's not useful. It absolutely is. But if you cannot take care of the bills you already have, credit is just going to sink you into the hole faster and faster and faster. That's all it's going to do. So just understand, credit is a part of the game for sure. You're never going to hear me say nobody should ever have a credit card. No, I'm not going to say that. But most of you all, before you touch that plastic, need to be able to afford your bills first. If you can't, something is wrong. The equation is messed up. You have to either cut lifestyle or earn more money. And you have to be able to consistently pay your bills, I think, for at least a year before you say to yourself, all right, let's take on the responsibility of borrowing somebody else's money. Just think about it this way. If you can't treat your own money well, with respect for a year, why do you think you're going to treat somebody else's money with higher respect, with higher praise? I've never understood that. Why people think to themselves, I don't save for my own future, but I'm going to treat the future of other people's money better. Why do you think that? Why do you think that you're actually going to follow through this time when it's somebody else? If you don't care about you, I have no reason to believe you'll care about anybody else. You got to understand, the money game is littered with traps, and credit is one of them. It looks appealing. It has all of the characteristics of something that can help you with a little bit of nuance flaked at the bottom. It's like the fine print. The fine print at the bottom of the contract. If you don't pay, we come with everything. That's the real fine print of credit. Because people are going to get their money from you one way or another. And I've seen people actually pay their credit card bill. That's the hold that some of these credit card companies have on us, on others. They will pay their credit card bill before they get themselves food. We are so worried about what our score is because our score, for a lot of us, represents how good or bad we're doing often, that we will forego things we actually need to prop up a score that does what? Only allows us to borrow more money so that we can do what? Go into more debt. And if you couldn't handle the beginning debt, what makes you think you're going to handle the future debt any better? Before you even think about credit and raising your credit score, ask yourself honestly, am I a credit card person? For those of you who watch Caleb Hammer, he's a financial YouTuber who brings people on his show and they go over all their finances, right? He says all the time, you're not a credit card person. And he says it to people who are in exorbitant amounts of credit card debt, have a history of showing that they cannot act responsibly with the credit that they have. And if that is you, you're not a credit card person. But again, I'm gonna take a step further. If you don't act responsibly with the little dollars you have, you're not a credit person either. The difference between somebody who can play the game at a high level and someone who can't master level 1 is that the people who get into credit card debt are skipping level 1, thinking that they can somehow pay to win and power up. You can't do that in the credit game. You can't. You will always be behind, wondering why the world is passing you by and everybody else is in a better financial position than you because you're trying to skip steps. Don't borrow other people's money if you can't master your own. That's all it is to it. And for those of you saying that everybody needs a credit card, I would put it this to you. Most people, the average American, I think is in somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000 worth of credit card debt. I could be wrong about that. But even if it's, let's call it 5,000. If right now you can't afford a $1,000 emergency and you're in $5,000 worth of credit card debt, do you realize that your credit card debt alone could pay for 5 emergencies? What if that money that you borrowed, that you couldn't afford to borrow, was sitting in an account in an emergency fund? See, we get tricked. We flip what's important. The money that you have, cash on hand, is far more important than credit, because cash on hand is what's going to save you and put you in a better position if things go wrong. Now, to people thinking like, oh, I can just use my credit card if there's an emergency. Yeah, and then you're gonna owe, and you're gonna be right back where you started. So after all that time, all that scrimping, that saving, that planning, you're ready to throw it all away if an emergency comes just because you are unwilling to put money away, just because you're unwilling to save, because you want toys instead of a financial future. That's not responsibility. That is not the actions of someone who can handle credit, who is ready for the next level. And that's why I say, for most Americans, you're not credit card people. You're not credit people. But you can be. The great news is, like with anything, any actions that you take are things that you can change. Just because you took previous actions in the past does not mean you can't better your future. So if you want to be somebody who can handle credit in the future, this is what you probably need to do. Take stock of your current finances. If you cannot give me a rundown of your budget and where every dollar is going, you're not ready. If you can do that for a year and you consistently have more money in that you make taking in than you are going out, if you have more money coming than you have going consistently for a year, you're ready for credit. You need to have consistent oversight over your numbers for a year and consistent cash flow up and above what your bills are. If you can't do those two things, credit is not for you, because that margin is going to become so important when unforeseen things happen. And understand, Murphy, accidents, it's a matter of if, not when. So if you want to play that credit game, I'm not going to tell you don't ever do it. I'm just going to tell you prepare in a way that's responsible first, so that when life comes knocking, you're ready. That's all I wanted to talk to y'all about today. I'll talk to y'all later.